she had bought it for me. It was a book. And it was written by Alan Vermeil. And it's an Advent book about Christmas coming, and it goes through all the different Christmas carols. I opened it up, and it fell open to this page. Oh, little town of Bethlehem, a history. I thought, did Alan Vermeil know what I was going to tell to them? And also, at the top, it says it's for day 15. What is today? Ooh, that's a big. But I was glad, and I read that article because it fit into what I wanted to tell my story. And I also found, reading that article, who wrote that song? Brooks Phillips. Excuse me, I don't buy his name back. Phillips Brooks. He was born in Massachusetts. And according to Alan Vermeil, he was a very large person. He was 6'8" and weighed over 300 pounds. According to Alan, he said he was built more like an NFL linebacker than he was an Episcopal bishop. As I said, he was born in Boston in 1835. He graduated from Harvard in 1855. And in 1859, he became an Episcopal priest. In 1865, he took a sabbatical and went to the Holy Land. And while he was there, he rode a horse from Jerusalem to what was a still small town of Bethlehem. And as he rode through the fields, there were shepherds still out there watching their flocks, just like many, many years ago on that wondrous night. Later, he went to a church service, an all-night church service. They said they sang hymns for 8 to 10 hours.
I love it.
You're right there, right? Well, 2 years later, when he was back in Boston, he still had those strong memories of what he had experienced in Bethlehem. And so he sat down and he wrote some verses. And he wanted the children's choir to sing those verses at their Christmas Eve service. So he took the verses to the organist at the church. His name was Louis Redner. And he asked him, he says, can you put music to these? And Louis said, sure. But days went by and Louis couldn't think of a tune. He was just blank. Well, on the Friday before the Sunday of the service, Brooks came back by and said, do you have the music yet? And Redner had to say, no, but I'll have it Sunday. I bet you've done that, Sheryl. You can always get in there. Well, come Saturday night, he still didn't have a tune. So he went to bed and tossed and turned and tossed and turned. But something happened while he was in bed, sleeping. And he explained it this way. I was roused from sleep, hearing an angel whispering a tune in my ear. Mm-hmm. I grabbed a piece of music paper and jotted down the melody. So the next morning, he showed Brooks the music for his verses, saying, these are a gift from heaven. And when you sing, "Oh, Little Town of Bethlehem," those words transform you, transport you back to that town on that wonderful night in the stable, in that manger, by that manger. And what he had said about the way the song was written, I think fits really well with the story I want to tell you. It's a Polish folk tale, and it tells about witnessing that miracle there in the stable from a very unusual vantage point. It's called the Spider's Christmas Legend. Pope John Paul II, who was from Poland, told this on international television many years ago to a group of young children. But unfortunately, y'all are stuck with me. In a stable, a long, long, long time ago, there lived a spider. All the other animals that lived there liked the spider, The spider had a good heart and a loving heart. And the spider was happy with his life there. But one day, after a rainstorm, the spider chanced to see its reflection in a puddle. And in that reflection, the spider did not see what the other animals saw in it. It saw no loving heart or caring heart. It saw a multitude of eyes, lots of hairy, skinny legs, and a swollen, misshapen body. How ugly, it thought. How very, very ugly. The spider climbed up to the very highest rafters in the stable and hid. It was determined not to inflict his presence on the other animals, lest they realized how ugly he was and reject and hate it. To pass the time that it used to pass with the other animals, the spider began to spin and weave, spinning and weaving webs. Each web became more and more intricate, more and more beautiful. Soon webs were spun of gossamer threads on every rafter in the stable. On mornings, when the dew would gather on the webs and the rising sun would send its rays, they would sparkle like the webs had been spun from silver. The other animals in the stable were amazed at the beauty and called out in joy to the artist. But the spider, thinking only about how ugly it was hid way up in the top and did not hear their words of praise. The spider hid during the day, came out only at night to weave its webs in the solitude and in the dark. One cold night, the doors of the stable opened and in came a man with his wife who was heavy with child. It was soon obvious that the time had come for the child to be born. There had been no place for these two humans with the rest of the people. No, these travelers, they had to be put out in the stable with the animals. That night, the woman gave birth. The newborn babe, wrapped in rough, swaddling clothes, was laid in a feed trough on a bed of hay. Starlight shone down on the child, showing him to be a gift from God, sent to this lowly place on earth. It was soon clear that the baby, though healthy, was extremely cold. Yet there were no blankets or other cloths to cover the shivering child. The creatures bad, neighed, called out, "Who can comfort this heaven-sent child?" From its vantage point in the rafters, the spider saw the shivering babe and raced from rafter to rafter and gathered all the beautiful webs hanging from the roof beams and stitched them together, layer after layer of intricate, delicate, silken webs, until they formed a wondrously soft, white blanket. On a gossamer thread, the spider lowered the webs, the beautiful blanket, down to the manger and on to the child. The holy child's shivering ceased. The grateful mother looked up and smiled. "Thank you for your blessed gift, dear spider." Later, shepherds and wise men arrived at the stable bearing gifts. Wonderful gifts of gold and frankincense and myrrh. But the first gift to the Christ child had been given by one who felt unworthy to be seen. I didn't hear the Pope's telling of that tale. The first time I heard that story was when Mary told it at a Christmas party at my house. But let me start at the beginning. I did school programs for the Discovery Center, and I discovered that children, the little tots, would go from fidgety, widgety, squiggly to jaw-dropping, eye-popping, mesmerized if you took what you were trying to teach them and put it in story form. So when I learned that a group of people were getting together to form a storytelling association, I said, "Hey, I'm in for that." I figured I could go and learn how to tell stories. Well, I went to the meeting, and boy, was I out of my league. Oh, there was one or two other beginners, but most of those people there were storytellers from way back, and they knew what they were doing. And Mary was one of those. Not only had she been telling stories for years, she was a natural born storyteller. Anytime she spoke, it turned into a fascinating, entertaining tale. I watched and listened to Mary, hoping to learn her storytelling secrets. What I learned was Mary was one of a kind, and I'm not sure the world was ready for another one. She could speak in an authentic mountain dialect, a mountain twang. It came naturally. She was a product of these East Tennessee mountains. Mary wasn't what you would call beautiful, but when she was telling you a story, her face came alive. It glowed. Her face was almost like it was made out of rubber. She could twist it and turn it so that it would take whatever shape the character in the story or the action required. She was a joy to watch as well as listen to. And for years, I listened and watched and was enthralled. As time went by, Mary told less and less often. She took a leave of absence from her job, which was working with disabled children. She became weaker, had to use a walker, lost her hearing. I watched as cancer took its toll on Mary. Then with joy, I watched as Mary grew stronger, began telling again, went back to work with her children. I watched as the cancer responded to the treatment. For our 50th wedding anniversary, my husband Charlie and I, put on a big to-do. Sheryl remembers because she was part of it. Right here at Trinity. And we invited everybody. We invited Mary. Mary said she would come, but she didn't. And I wondered why. 2 days after our big to-do, I was walking from my kitchen to my dining room, which is one step down, missed a step, and broke my ankle. So there was a while before I could get back to my storytelling meetings. After I got out of the cast and did go back, Mary was there. As soon as I saw her, I realized the cancer was back. She handed me a package at the meeting, and I looked surprised. She said that she had meant to bring that to our big to-do, our anniversary party. She insisted that I open it up. It was a box of Christmas ornaments. As I took the ornaments out of the box, she told me the story about each one. It was the last story I ever heard Mary tell. Within weeks, Mary died of cancer. The ornaments became very special to us, and not only because of the tradition they represented, but because of Mary's stories. And in her stories, she explained that according to an old German tradition, a couple's Christmas tree needed to have these 12 ornaments hanging on it to make sure that they would have happiness through their marriage. Mary said, every marriage needs these gifts, whether just starting out or starting out on the next half century. And we appreciated her thoughts. I have brought those 12 ornaments here, and I have asked Linda if she'll help me. I'm sure some of you all are well aware of these little 12 days of Christmas ornaments, but we're going to talk about them again. The first one is an angel.
Does it matter where I put it on the tree?
No, anywhere you please.
Let's start with that.
And the angel represents God's guidance. A house represents shelter, protection. A rabbit, I know what you're thinking, but the rabbit represents hope. Teapot, hospitality. A bird, joy. A rose, affection. A fruit basket, generosity. A fish represents Christ's blessings. A pine cone, now you can think rabbit. Pine cone represents fertility or fruitfulness. Santa represents goodwill. A flower basket, good wishes. And last but not least, a heart, representing true love. For years, Charlie and I decorated our tree with these ornaments. I still do. Now, as I put them on the tree, I do so with joy, but some sadness, but always with sweet memories of Mary's stories. Thank you for helping me with my ornaments.
You're welcome.
There's some bad things and good things about getting older, isn't there? The bad thing is, good Lord, we got a pain here, we got a pain there, we got a pain here, but that's okay. And your memory might not work quite as good as it used to. You might go all the way upstairs to get something and can't remember it and have to come all the way downstairs. Then you remember it, then you go back all the way upstairs to get it. But you also remember other things very well. But of course they happened 30 years ago. Not what happened last week, but 35 years ago you got it. Well, another thing about getting older, or at least for me that's better, is I don't get as stressed over the holidays as much as I used to. It used to be really, I don't know, nerve-wracking as holidays came closer and closer. But now that my children are grown, and even my grandchildren are grown, I've got a great grandson. But I can still remember what it was like. And I bet you all too remember it, don't you? Right? I know. It's back there. My next piece is a poem. I call it a poem. It might fall in another category. But anyway, it refers to those Christmases past. And I call it Wait Till Next Year. I'd forgotten Uncle Harry. Had to gift wrap a tie from the back of hubby's closet. How was I to know it was the one Uncle Harry gave him last year? Wait till next year. I'll start Christmas shopping in April. Make a list of sizes, colors, styles, preferences. I'll match each gift perfectly to its recipient. I'll make that list, checking it not only twice, but thrice. Can't keep my eyes open. Didn't get to bed till after 2. Hubby and I assembled toys, all 487 parts, not counting the ones that rolled under the couch. Then the kiddies woke us up at 5 to let us rush in there to see the surprises that Santa had brought. Wait till next year. Only books and underpants for the boys. No assembly required. Batteries not included. But who needs them? In-laws, parents, nieces, nephews, uncles, aunts. Everybody's coming to dinner. Coming to dinner, and the turkey's not thawed yet. The dog ate the cranberry fluff supreme, but not for long. I'm eating it on Aunt Tessie's hand-embroidered tablecloth. Wait till next year. I'll dine at the finest restaurant in town. Be served at a table with a spotless white linen cloth and napkins and finger bowls. Served by uniformed waiters at my beck and call. The food will be delicious, and there'll be no turkey leftovers. The tree is lopsided. The boys are fighting over who puts the star on top. Hubby is cussing and fussing as he nails to our front door 4 evergreen twigs that he clipped off the neighbor's hedge. Wait till next year. I'll turn this house into a Martha Stewart dream. With holly and mistletoe, Yuletide logs, neath the tastefully decorated tree, perfectly symmetrical, will be snowy little scenes. The lawn will be populated by neon elves. And up on the rooftop, there'll be Santa and his reindeers, including Rudolph, pawing and waving. People will come from miles to see such a sight. But until then, have some more eggnog, put your feet up on the coffee table, and let's watch It's a Wonderful Life one more time this year. It became for our family, and I'm sure lots of other families, that a tradition to sit down and watch It's a Wonderful Life every holiday season. You want to play a game? Sure you do. In my hat here, I have some pieces of paper with quotes on them. Quotes from Christmas movies. Maybe there's a quote in here from your favorite Christmas movie. What we're going to do, what is your favorite Christmas movie? Pop them up. You must have one.
It's a Wonderful Life.
Who?
It's a Wonderful Life. I mean, I really like it.
Absolutely.
And the one with Bing Crosby.
Yeah.
White Christmas. Yeah. All right. Maybe one of those are in here. You get the thing, you open it up, you read it out loud so everybody can hear it. And if you don't know the answer, maybe somebody else will. But if nobody knows the answer, I got an answer sheet. Okay. Put your hand in there. Read it out loud.
Will you please tell Santa that instead of presents this year, I just want my family back?
Well, you know what movie that came from?
Oh, that's wonderful. Home Alone?
Home Alone. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
First
Home
one.
Alone. The first one. Right.
Will you please tell Santa that instead of presents this year, I just want my family back? You're absolutely right. That's one of my favorites. Not only it's got a good feel to it, it's really funny.
Maybe Christmas doesn't come from a store. Maybe Christmas perhaps means a little bit more.
Who knows what movie that came from? Just imagine me all green.
Oh,
Maybe Christmas doesn't come from a store. Maybe Christmas perhaps means a little bit more.
Yeah.
Which is it?
The Grinch.
How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Yeah. How about you, Sadie? You put your glasses on, you must have read them.
I'm gonna have to get mine.
It's written in 14 fonts. Anybody can read it.
Jeanette,
Do what?
I got two, I believe.
No, I just folded them up.
Oh, okay. Down the chimney, you want me to take the toys down the chimney into a strange house in my underwear? Charlie.
What? That movie?
I don't know that.
Anybody know that movie? Down the chimney? You want me to take the toys down the chimney into a strange house in my underwear?
The Santa Claus? The Santa Claus?
The Santa Claus. Remember, the Santa Claus fell off and died or something, and he had to take up the reins. Can you read? It's pretty big print.
I'm gonna try to. It's in my pocketbook.
I got mine, and they just
read
dollar
it.
stores, so they
Yeah,
work.
that's what mine are too. Vermont must be beautiful this time of year. All that snow.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
I can remember that. I'm from Massachusetts,
Okay.
so I know.
Do you remember what movie it was?
No, I don't.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's
that's
where he
very-
goes back to his former service.
Vermont must be
Yeah.
beautiful this time of year.
That was in that
All
thing.
that snow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when they got there, what happened? There weren't no
No,
snow.
no.
Till
And no gas.
Bing Crosby sings
Oh,
White Christmas.